Here we are discussing what is pollination and types of pollination. Pollination means transfer of pollen grains from flower to the stigma of the flower of the same species. A transfer of the pollen grains from anther lobe to the stigma of a flower is called as pollination. So here pollination is of two types. So first type of pollination is self-pollination and second one is cross-pollination. So what is self-pollination? Transfer of pollen grains of the same flower fall on the stigma of the same flower. So here stamens are there and anther lobes are there, and you see the presence of what pollen grains, and these pollen grains may fall on the stigma of the same flower. That pollination is called self-pollination. So here pollen grains of the same flower fall on the stigma of the same flower, and that is called as self-pollination. And we need to discuss about what is cross-pollination. So here you see just below page number 58, there you see two flowers are there, and two flowers are bisexual flowers, and two flowers are having four whorls, and first whorl is calyx, and second whorl is corolla, and third whorl is androecium, and fourth whorl is gynoecium. So here androecium is called as the male part of a flower, and androecium consists of filamen and so anther lobes. Anther lobes are producing what pollen grains, and these pollen grains they fall on the stigma of the another flower of the same plant or another flower of the other plant of the same species. So here pollen grains are they carried by means of wind, and here the pollen grains may be carried by means of insects, and they may fall on the stigma of the another flower of the same plant or the other plant which is belong to the same species, and that is called as cross pollination. Self pollination also called as autogamy. So what is the other name for self pollination? Self pollination means transfer of pollen grains of the same flower fall on the stigma of the same flower is called as self pollination, and the other name for self pollination is autogamy. Auto means same, self. Cross pollination also called allogamy. So here allogamy means two. Here pollen grains of the flower fall on the stigma of the flower of the same plant, or pollen grains may fall on the stigma of the other flower of the same species, that is called as cross pollination. Children, we discuss clear information about what is autogamy and what is allogamy and what is self pollination and also what is cross pollination. Now we are going to discuss about what are the agents performing pollination. So here many agents are useful to carry the male gametes of a flower to the stigma of the flowers. They are called as pollinating agents. So here wind, insects, animals, human beings, water, all these are example for agents of pollination. So here you see agents of pollination are pollinating agents are animals such as insects, birds, bats, water, wind, and even plants themselves. They carry pollen grains from anther to the stigma and accomplish what? Pollination. Insects like butterflies. So many insects, honeybees, they visit the flowers to suck the nectar, to suck the juices that are flower present at the base of the ovary. And during the process of sucking this nectar, so here the insect wings and legs, they are having hairy like structure, and to this wings and also that is the legs of the insect, the pollen grains are stick, and these pollen grains are carried by means of the insects, and the insects also visit the other flower. So in this way they carry the pollen grain from one flower to the other flower or the stigma of the other flower, and in this way these insects are facilitating cross pollination. So here insect like butterflies suck the nectar. So here we drink also nectar. So nectar is so kept. It is honeybees. They suck the nectar and they use the nectar, and also the nectar is useful to what? To formation of honey. So honeybees are what? Sucking the nectar, and they store the nectar in what? Beehives, and that is nothing but honey. So here nectar from flower. At the same time, pollen grains of that flower stick to the legs of the butterfly. When the butterfly goes to the another flower for nectar, the pollen grains they have stuck to its legs fall on the flower of the stigma. So in this way, these insects are the agents. They are facilitating what? Cross pollination. Now we need to understand about what is fertilization. So we discuss there are two types of pollination. So also we discuss what is pollination. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma is called as pollination. And here pollination is of two types. So they are number one, self pollination, also cross pollination. Cross pollination is by means of several agents we discuss. Now we need to discuss about what is fertilization. So here you are observing what? Gynoecium. And what is the other name for gynoecium? Pistil or carpel. So it consists of what? Oval-like structure, and this is called as a big structure, swollen-like structure at the base, and this is ovary, and this is a style, and this is a stigma. Like that, you see a carpel consists of three parts: ovary, style, and stigma. And ovary consists of what? Ovules, and there you see the presence of what? Nuclei and female nuclei, and this is the egg cell, and these two are synergids and antipodals, and synergids and antipodals you see, and also polar nuclei are present in the center. And here, when a pollen grain fall on the stigma, stigma is producing what? A sugary a substance and solution, and that is useful to bulge the pollen grains, and pollen grains are stick to the stigma, and there you see pollen grain they absorb the sugary substance that is present on the stigma, and finally they swells and they produce what? Tube, and this pollen tube grows into the ovary, and they may pass, and this pollen tube consists of what? Two male nuclei. So one of the male nuclei fuses with egg cell to form zygote, and another male nuclei fuses with polar nuclei, they form as endosperm. So in this way we are observing how fertilization takes place in case of flower. So pollen grain they fall on the stigma, and they swell and they bulge, and also they produce what? Pollen tube, and pollen tube may reach the micropyle that is present at the posterior end of the embryo sac or ovule, and at that region you can see the presence of what? Egg cell, and one of the male nuclei fuses with egg cell to form zygote, and another male nucleus fuses with what? Polar nuclei to form what? Primary endosperm. And in this way fertilization takes place in case of what? A flower. After successful pollination, the stigma secrete nutrient for the large pollen grain, and the pollen grains are fall on the stigma. The pollen grains absorb these nutrients and grows to form a thin tube, that is a pollen tube, and this grows to the stigma down of the style, and the pollen tube contains two male nuclei, and after reaching the ovule it releases the one of the male nuclei, and it fuses with the egg cell to form zygote, and this fusion and male and female nucleus lead to the formation of a zygote, and zygote is also known as after zygote. So here is the formation of zygote, and that is nothing but fertilization, and this zygote develop into embryo. Children, here you are observing a beautiful diagram which is showing how fertilization takes place in case of flowers. So here pollen they fall on the stigma, and they produce what? Pollen tube, and pollen tube consists of two male nuclei, and one of the nuclei fuses with egg cell to form zygote, and that process is called as fertilization. After fertilization, zygote is formed, and zygote develop into embryo. So here you see ovary, style, stigma, and consists of polar nuclei, and also male nuclei, also egg, and that is the fertilization process in plants. Now you are observing what? Fruits, and fruit is nothing but it is the after pollination also you see after fertilization zygote is formed, and this zygote develop into embryo, and here each ovule develop into a seed, and this is the ovary develop into fruit. After fertilization ovule develop into seeds, and ovary develop into fruit. Here you see all these are the fruits. They are modified ovaries. Ovary after fertilization, ovary develop into fruit, and fruits are enclosing seeds in it, and fruits are having that is nutrients. So we are eating fruits, and fruits are having seeds, and seeds are formed after fertilization. Zygote develop into embryo, and seed coat is formed, and each embryo is covered by seed coats. So here fruit and seed formation. After fertilization, the ovary grows into a fruit, and the ovules inside it become seeds. The seed contain embryo and food for the developing new plant. There is a tough protective coating around the seed, which is called as seed coat. So all seeds which are present in fruits, they have seed coats, and seed coats are protecting the embryos. In the same way, all seeds are protected by means of fruit. And after fertilization, calyx, corolla, androecium part, all the parts of the drop off, they fall, and you see only the fruit is attached to the plant. So here these are the changes that takes place after fertilization. Now you see here what are the functions of fruit. So I told you fruit is formed after fertilization, and ovary is developed into fruit, and fruit consists of food material for the baby plant, that is embryos which are present in the seed, and seed, that is embryos are covered by with ovules are covered with seed coats. So in this way embryos that are present in the ovules seeds are protected by means of seed coat. So here fruit provide protection to the seeds placed inside. Fruit is stored house for food, especially fleshy fruits, and fruit helps in dispersal of seeds. Now you need to understand about what are the functions of seed. So seed is nothing but, so here seed consists of embryo in it, and seed is enclosed by means of seed coat, and embryo is present in seed. Suppose if a seed is fall on the soil, and if it is getting water, and it develop into a small plant, so germination takes place, and finally you see it producing a small root and also plumule, and here plumule develop into shoot system, and radicle develop into root system. So here you see it prevents competition between the plant and also its own seedling for sunlight, water, and also mineral. Seeds store reserve food for the baby plant. So here this food, it may be, in many cases is available to animals also, and the hard outer protecting coat protects the baby plant, that is embryo within the seed, also prevent the death of the seeds in unfavorable condition. In favorable condition, the seed germinate and gives rise to a new baby plant. So here children, in this chapter we discuss, so what are the parts of a flower, and what are unisexual flower, and what are bisexual flowers, and what is a complete flower, and what is a incomplete flower, and also we discuss the male and female parts of a flower, and we discuss how that is fertilization takes place in a flower, and we discuss different types of pollination. What is pollination? What transfer of pollen grains to the stigma of the pistil is called as pollination. And pollination is of two types: self pollination, also cross pollination. After pollination, here you see the formation of zygote, and zygote develop into after pollination, here you see fertilization takes place. After fertilization, zygote is formed. Zygote develop into embryo, and this zygote embryo is covered by a seed coat, and all these are the post that is the changes that takes place after fertilization. After fertilization, ovary develop into fruit, and all the remaining parts of the flower like calyx, corolla, and that is the style, they fall, and also they may drop, and finally you see the presence of fruit which is attached to the plant. So in the fruits, what is there? What are there? Seeds are there, and also we discuss what are the functions of fruit and what are the functions of seeds, and also we discuss and here you see fruit function, also seed functions. And now you need to understand about what? In-text question. So I clearly explain the content that is given in this reproduction in plants, structure of flower and different types of flowers, and also parts of flower, and also different types of pollination, and after fertilization what change takes place in a pistil or that is over I told you. Now you see in-text questions are there. So name the female reproductive part of flower where pollen grain they germinate. So here pollen grain they fall on the stigma. So here you see this is stigma, and on the stigma pollen grain they absorb the sugary substance and they germinate, and this is called as gynoecium. It is also called a pistil. So name the female reproductive part, that is the stigma of the gynoecium. Ovule contain dash gamete, whereas the pollen grain contain a dash gamete. So ovules contain female gametes, whereas pollen grain contain what? Male gametes. So male gametes are produced by means of anther lobes, and they are called as pollen grains, and female gametes are produced in the ovary, and they are called ovules. Name the flower part which contain pollen grains. Pollen grains are present in anthers. Anthers they are called as andicium. So anthers are producing what? Pollen grains, male gametes. A fertilized egg is also called as zygote, and zygote developed embryo, and embryo is covered by what? Seed coat, and seeds are present in the fruit. So all these are the post after fertilization, all the change takes place in a flower. Name the flower part where the female gamete is formed. Name the flower part where the female gamete is formed. So here female gametes are formed or produced in ovary. So here ovary consists of what? Female gametes. Children, in this topic, in this content, we discuss what? The structure of flower, and also we discuss what? Sexual reproduction, the parts of sex parts of a flower, male part of flower and female part of flower, and we discuss what are unisexual flowers, what are bisexual flower, and what is a complete flower, what is incomplete flower. We also discuss what are the parts of a flower, calyx, corolla, next andicium, gynoecium, and also we discuss what is pollination, what is self-pollination, and what is cross-pollination, and we also discuss what agents of pollination, and we discuss fertilization, and also we discuss what are the changes that takes place after fertilization, and we discuss the functions of fruit, and we discuss the function of seed, and also we clearly discuss the 5 in-text questions. So today in this video we understood what the content that is given in reproduction chapter, that is the 4th chapter. Thank you, children. Okay.